Hello Exiles, Fusion Gaming here and welcome. We are now 2 days away from 3.24 and they announced last night all of the Scarabs after Mark's stream with Zizaran. Now we're going to quickly run through some of these Scarabs, some of the most busted ones that I saw last night on the stream, and obviously we're going to run through a very quick how we think you could scale them and what you should be scaling to get the most out of all of these Scarabs. Before we start though, I just want to say thank you for everyone who has followed me recently. If you have watched any of my videos, obviously I did my build guide video, league starter video last night. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I'll put the link up there now if you want to go and watch that. And obviously you can always come back to this later. Obviously on there is my 9 top league starters. Now I have had a few comments that have said that EK Ignite is obviously not the best to start with, but I started with it, I think it was either last league or the league before, I can't remember. But I did it on around about a 10 divine budget and I still managed to clear all content. There's people on there saying that you need mirror tier builds. You don't. So it's entirely up to you how you want to approach that. So let's crack on with this. Obviously, if you are enjoying these videos, throw us a like, throw us a subscribe, and obviously let's begin. So going through the Scarabs, now I'm not going to go through every single one before you think I am. We're just going to go through some of the key ones. So obviously we're going to go down the list and I'm going to just pick some of the best ones. So the first one, obviously with Reliquary, area contains a nameless seer. That is a guaranteed unique, so you might come across that and you may then get a tabula in early maps. That is going to be a massive bonus if you can get that, and who knows, he may even give you a mage blood or a headhunter if you're lucky. Next one that I saw is the sulfite one. Now we have no idea what the hell enraging fumes are. We don't know what type of modifiers, but as you can see there, it says that sulfite found releases enraging fumes and monsters affected by enraging fumes have 500% increased item quant. So that is basically just the enraged strongbox sextant, but they've thrown it into sulfite instead. Now what we don't know is what does enraging fumes do. Does it provide the monster with like tormented abilities? Can they move faster, attack faster? What does it do? Doesn't say. We're just gonna have to just try that out when we get it. But that one seems pretty busted. Next one on here is Anarchy. Now with the Anarchy, obviously there is one that provides you with area contains 4 additional exiles, which you can use 4 of those. Says their limit of 4, so that means that you would then get 16 additional rogue exiles. Then you then have this one, which obviously provides you with a rogue giant. Now if anyone did any tier 17 Valdo maps last league, then you will have encountered a rogue giant. I did last league and they are pretty cracked, they are pretty crazy, so good luck if you come across any of those. And the next one is rogue exiles have a chance to appear in pairs, so 50% chance. Now I'm going to come back to these 3 later on because there's a guy on Reddit that's made a funny post which I'm going to go back onto in a bit. Next one on here that I wanted to discuss is Harvest. So with Harvest, obviously there is this usual Sacred Grove, obviously duplicating life force, but the last one seems a bit crazy. Obviously it says here that it will contain 1 additional tier 4 seed for each type if possible. So that basically means if you go into your Harvest and your Sacred Grove and there is 1 blue plot, one pink plot and 1 yellow plot, I would assume that it would be a guaranteed 1 additional. You would have basically a tier 4 seed for every color. Now if you only had blue and purple, then you would only have a tier 4 blue and a tier 4 purple, but even then that is pretty crazy. Tier 4s can sometimes give you the Sacred Blossom, which obviously for the fight, and then obviously once you complete that fight you can then get Sacred Life Force, which can sell up to a divine, if not a little bit more, depending on where we are in the league. So that is pretty crazy. Next one as well is the Black Morrigan. Now this one obviously says that the area contains the Black Morrigan. Now there is a quote from Jonathan which I'm going to put in here where he basically says that there is a new beast.
The Black Morrigan was the beast, the monster. It's like a crow monster boss from Affliction, but yeah. This one's a little bit mysterious, and I won't give away too much, but it's just kind of some of the. There's obviously a new beast to capture, and I guess the implication is that that beast can be used in some recipes that you may or may not know about, and we'll have to find out what those are.
Could that be that which was taken?
No, it is not that which was taken.
So as you saw there, we now have a new beast, but we don't know what it does. We know that it doesn't give you a that which was taken jewel, as he confirmed, but who knows what it gives you. So that is something that we are going to have to find out by ourselves. Obviously, copy of beasts is always a bonus, so that's obviously a good one. Next one is influencing. Now the influence one here, which says tier 14 maps found in areas have a chance to drop as Shaper, Guardian, Elder, Conqueror, or unique synthesized maps. Now I feel that this would pair very well if you was to harness increased map drops. So if you was to scale your map drops, i.e. basically cartographers, then obviously you would be able to kind of scale as many map drops as you can, and obviously try and boost that as much as you can. So that one is pretty busted. Harbinger one next. Now there is a few Harbinger ones which are very good. This one is in particular is very strong if you get lucky, which even Mark said in his stream that there is a gamble chance that you may get a mirror shard or you may get a fracturing shard, and if you get the fracturing shard, as it says here, every single type of currency shard will drop as that type of shard. So there is going to be that lucky chance where you are going to get potentially a fracturing shard or even a mirror shard, and it will rain fracturing shards and mirror shards throughout the entire map. That is just one of those roulette wheel gambles that you are going to have to keep spinning all the way through League. Next one though is Powerful Harbinger Boss. That's always a bonus. But the last one, obviously all currency shards are duplicated. So imagine you combined that one with that one and you duplicated all the rare drops. So imagine you got exalted drops and they all duplicated. It's a bit of a bonus. But then imagine you got fracturing shard drops and mirror shard drops and they were all duplicated. That is going to be insane. Next one is not Abyss, is Essence. So with the Essence, obviously all of the Essence ones are pretty good. Obviously Essence are a tier higher. You can obviously corrupt and upgrade them. But the last one, all rare monsters in area are imprisoned by Essences. That is pretty crazy. If you was to scale rares and obviously pack size within your maps, I feel that you would get more rare monsters, and that I feel is going to be very, very powerful. And if you was then to potentially combine that with running Essence on your Atlas tree, then that would probably be a very, very powerful and very expensive Scarab. But we'll have to wait and see. Next one in here is the Shrines. Now obviously the first three are okay. This one is good for experience, so you are wanting to obviously get some early experience. That is pretty decent. But the last one here is pretty crazy. Shrines in area are guarded by an additional map boss. Okay, that's fine. But modifiers to the final map boss also apply to these guardians. So basically whoever your map boss is in your map, so let's just say that it is a Minotaur or an Enslaver or even a Conqueror, the modifiers that would apply to him, meaning whatever he would drop, would then apply to every single map boss that you would encounter at every single shrine. So if you was to scale your shrines, you would be raining maps. Basically, I would feel that this is how that works. You would be raining Conqueror maps, Guardian maps, synthesized maps, all these types of things, depending on what type of map it is that you are doing. Maybe not synthesis, but all the others, yeah, it's crazy. Incursion, obviously these are all pretty good. Obviously incursion monsters, increased pack size. But the last one, obviously Final Architect, remains in area, will drop an itemized temple, which is obviously going to be random based on your current temple layout. Now I feel that you want to keep this if you are running incursion until you come across two particular rooms. Now for anyone who's watched my incursion guide video, which I will put the link up there now if you want to go and watch it, I do provide you with a cheat sheet. That is this cheat sheet here. Now obviously the main two rooms you want to look out for is Gem Cutter's Workshop and Corruption Chamber. If you get any of those two rooms, the next thing you should then be doing is running this Scarab, because then he may drop, as it's randomized, the tier of the room is randomized. So for every architect that you then kill, it says their final architect slain in area will drop an itemized temple. So basically you could then run, so if you manage to get this really early on, and you then manage to run a couple of these Scarabs, you may then get 5 or 6 tier 2 or tier 3 temples, which obviously you can then use. Obviously tier 3 is what you want, because obviously you want to get it as high as possible for the corruption, but it's going to be, that's how you would use it. Next one is obviously Betrayal. Obviously there is a Betrayal one, obviously provide you with increased enforcement, so obviously they will get a little bit more guards, so that's fine. Blight is obviously always a bonus. Obviously, chests can be opened again, but the last one is pretty crazy. It is guaranteed Blight Ravaged drops. So basically, it says there tier 14 blighted maps in area drop as blighted ravaged maps instead. So as long as you obviously went full into Blight, and obviously you picked up the nodes that obviously provide you with an extra chance of blighted maps to drop, then you would then get a continual surplus of blight ravaged maps. Now, due to them changing some mods on the trade site, which they did the other day, that is going to massively help, and you will have a guaranteed income there from blight ravaged maps. If you were to run them, then obviously you would have a bit more money, because obviously they are quite powerful. Now, Breach. When he went through the Breach ones, I was pretty amazed. So first of all, we are going to go through these ones. So Breach, first of all, 2 additional breaches, and you can have 4 of them. So there's 8 breaches. But all breaches will belong to Cheula. So let's say you ran 3 of them and 1 of them. That then means that you would then have 6 breaches, all of them with Cheula. Then it says it's guaranteed to have a Breach Lord. So potentially you could run 2 of those to get 4 breaches, all of them with Cheula, and you would get a Breach Lord in the area as well. So all the breaches, I would assume, would have a Cheula boss in there, which means you're going to be raining splinters. Now, obviously, this one increases the amount of splinters that was to drop, and this one obviously provides you with additional clasped hands, and obviously the clasped hands are guarded by rare monsters. The Breach Scarabs are pretty crazy, and I may try Breach at some point because of how cracked some of those Scarabs are, but that is quite fun. Cartography, so these are the ones that obviously you would want to run for increased map drops, obviously as per before. So if you're wanting to scale maps, you want to run obviously increased maps found in area. This one obviously just increases the tier of the maps. That obviously guarantees a unique map. Obviously non-unique maps found are dropped with 8 modifiers. That's basically just the 8 modded sextant that we used to run. And the final one obviously has a chance for them to be duplicated. Now imagine you were scaling map drops and you ran the 50% and duplication with the other ones, with the shrines and the map bosses. Yeah, it would be insane. And obviously any maps that were to drop would be duplicated. Yeah, that would be crazy. Strong boxes, obviously the regular strong boxes are obviously here. There is no enraged, however there is monstrous treasure, which is the inhabitants are lying in ambush. What that means is the entire map, all the monsters on the map are contained within the strong boxes. So you will have an entire map full of strong boxes. Last one as well is they are more likely to be rarer variants. So I think if you was to run that with increased effect and potentially chance for them to be opened again and run them 4, I think that would be pretty crazy. So that's an idea. Expedition now. Now the craziest one on here is this one. 2 additional suffixes and 2 additional prefixes on top of the suffix and prefixes that you get already. Now I think, and quote me if I'm wrong here, but I'm sure somewhere on the Atlas tree there is an option that provides your remnants with an additional prefix and additional suffix. And we're just going to double check that. Yes, as expected, there was. So on the main cluster here, where obviously you have extreme archaeology, where you have one massive explosion, there is a node here that obviously says that remnants have a 30% chance to have an additional suffix, and obviously you have an additional 2 remnants as well. Now if you was to combine that with this scarab, I think that would be pretty crazy. Then obviously going down, obviously if you want to take it with Danning, if you want to focus on Danning, you can do. And obviously increased explosive radius combined with this explosive radius, combined with this explosive radius, we're talking huge explosion, Oppenheimer style explosion. Because there's 35% increased explosive, yeah, so 35% increased explosive radius. Then you have 200% increased explosive radius, so there's 235%, 235%, and an extra 80%. So we're talking 300 plus increased area of effect. You will fill the entire screen. That is insane. You will not miss anything. You'll blow the entire screen up. you best be ready, because you will get swarmed like hell with all the monsters, so be ready. Next one is Legion. Now, there is a Legion one here, which was mentioned in the video, that he said that when they did the testing on it, depending on how much damage you have, you can literally keep killing this monster. As it says there, they can be broken out of status multiple times. It's all based on the timer and all based on your damage. So if you have enough damage to put out to kill this monster, what he did say in the stream is every time you kill them, their life is then reset, but they have more life. So imagine they have 100 life. Once you kill them, it then goes up to 200 life. And then when you kill him, he has 300 life. And you kill him, he has 400 life. And it scales. I don't know how it scales. I don't know what percentage it scales by. But that is basically how it works. So as long as you are putting out the damage and you picked a juicy mob, if you can kill it fast enough, then you could have a screen full of rewards. That is pretty crazy. Also then, you combine that with Mariketh faction. Obviously, that's the most expensive splinters, and accompanied by a general or sergeants would be very, very powerful. Next one is Beyond. Now, this is where I want to go back to Anarchy. So the most craziest Scarab here is this one. 8 to 12 additional Beyond portals for every unique monster slain. As you know, rogue exiles are unique monsters. So if you scale rogue exiles in your map and combine it with this, then you will get some ridiculous Beyond portals. There is a guy on Reddit earlier today who did a post, which I'm going to show you here. So he did 10%, if you combine 10% chance for rogue exiles in your maps to appear in pairs. So there's 3 of them, so that's 30%. If you then take the Scarab, that gives you an extra 50%, then that's 80% that you will then get them to be in pairs. So there's 80% chance. Then if you combine that with 2 Anarchy Scarabs, which contains 4 additional exiles, that means that you will get a guaranteed 8 exiles. Now, out of those 8 exiles, they could be duplicated, but we'll come back to that. Next thing is your maps have an 8% chance to contain 20 rogue exiles. So as he's done the maths here, 20 plus the 8 is 28. If you times that by the 80% that you could have to have them in pairs, it's 50.4 rogue exiles. So round it down, 50 rogue exiles. 50 rogue exiles times 8 to 12, so he's done the middle number of 10 as an average. So 10 Beyond portals per rogue exile is 500 Beyond portals. That just seems cracked. So yeah, that I will try that on one map, and it will be probably insane. There are obviously some other ones on there. Obviously drops are corrupted, and obviously they drop more tainted currency, but that is by far one of the most craziest. Ultimatum ones they went through on the live stream, so I'm not going to go through those. The Delirium ones I feel are very powerful. There is guaranteed bosses on them. So the first one here, this Neurosis, has a guaranteed that all of your encounters will contain all the bosses. So you will have a guaranteed Chosis and a guaranteed Omniphobia. Okay, but it has to be above tier 11. So that's one. Second thing is any maps that drop in your map will have layers of delirium. So that basically means that any maps that drop will have multiple lines of delirium on them. So whether it be currency reward or body armor or scarabs or whatever it may be. Also contains 2 delirium encounters generate 2 additional reward types. And then finally, delirium reward meters fill 100% faster. However, you can put 2 of these in, which is 200% faster. That means that you could literally potentially be hitting 20 rewards, if not more, if you was to get this. If you combine this with the Mirror of Delirium, 200% faster, so that's 3 Scarabs, and then you could then combine it with the additional reward types. There's your 4 Scarabs and your map. That would pretty be crazy. But if you wanted to farm Chosis and Omniphobia, then you would have to swap one out. Or if you wanted to have maps drop with Delirium, then you'd have to swap another one out. But those are they are all good. It's just which one would you want to play. The miscellaneous ones at the bottom here are good, but it's very... There's other picks that I think would be better. So obviously there's 40% increased pack size. So if you are wanting to boost the pack size, then that is very good. Additional packs of rare monsters. Obviously additional packs with mirrored rare monsters. We have 40 clustered barrels. I'd be very surprised if anybody uses that one. We have hunted traitors, and then the final one, which is portals have a 50% chance to not be consumed. So that would be good if you was running a tier 17 map and you didn't want to brick it. I feel you could put that in and you would have a few attempts at trying to do it. Now on to the horned ones. Now these ones are pretty crazy. Now the first one, all monster packs are at least magic in area. Now if you was to combine that with a replica headhunter, then that would just be crazy. Next one, rare monsters have additional 2 modifiers. Now that one is going to be good for loot. Basically the loot table is directly linked to modifiers on a rare monster. So the more modifiers they have, the better their drops. So that means that you will get better drops. And if you were to combine that with Magic Find, you can kind of guess where that's going. Other scarabs are not consumed. Now that is a good one, because then that means that it doesn't consume any of your other scarabs. So let's say you've spent multiple divines on buying 4 scarabs, and then this one only costs, I don't know, maybe 2 for the one, but all the other 4 maybe cost like 5 divines. Then it would be worth it to buy one of those, so then you don't lose the 5, and then you could literally just have infinite scarabs and just keep buying one of these and run all the rest. So you would have infinite scarabs basically. This one obviously is an imbued option, which obviously is when you can then disable prefixes and suffixes, so that is going to be useful for when you're running a tier 17 maps. There are other options, but he didn't really go into much detail on what they are, so we're going to have to wait to see what they all are. Obviously all rare monsters in area have at least 1 reward modifier, but they cannot be affected by Magic Find basically. Now the 1 reward modifier is the modifier that you would usually see above like Legion monsters, where it could be a currency reward, a jewelry reward, a divination card. So every single rare monster in your map will have a reward modifier, which again sounds pretty good. And it can't be influenced by Magic Find, so that is amazing, because they can't then try and make the most of it. But this one is the reverse. So every single monster that you kill obviously scales up in terms of 200% increased rarity and 100% quant. Now if you are running Magic Find, then that is going to be a massive bonus, because you will then get a free 100% quant and 200% rarity. However, if you are not running Magic Find, I feel that this is still pretty good. If you was to roll your map really high and get like a juicy 150% quant map, slap this in, yeah, I think it would be pretty good. This is kind of going to replace potentially what the Wisps were giving. We will have to wait and see. But again, seems very powerful. And the last one here, monster packs in area have a 15% chance to be replaced by a random Atlas boss, and modifiers to the final map boss also apply to these Atlas bosses. Again, if you was to scale map drops and you was to scale pack size, obviously monster packs in your area, they can be replaced. Then again, this would obviously create some crazy outcomes. That is basically all of the Scarabs, guys. I will put the link to all of these. If you want to go through them individually one by one, then that's fine. But that is basically the major ones and how I feel that you could combine them and what you could scale to get the best results. I'm sure there's some that I have missed and some nutty combos that you could throw together and slap together, but that's what's good about this community. Someone out there will find probably the craziest combination and they'll slap it on a YouTube video, or they'll put it on Reddit, and everyone will start playing it then. And then all the prices will go up, as they always do. I also just wanted to mention, in regards to the actual corpse mechanism that's within Necropolis as well, there was a mod option that he mentioned in respects of fracturing mods. And he did mention at some point that you can actually fracture all 6 mods, similar to how recombinators used to work. And I'll show you what I mean.
Same with fracture, so that's like you put 4 of them, 1 mod's fractured. If you put another one, it's 1 mod's fractured with a 25% chance of a second mod fractured, so on and so forth. You can just get it with all 6 mods are fractured, or whatever you want to do there.
Pretty crazy, eh? So that means that you are going to be able to potentially get a 6 fractured piece of armor, and I can guarantee you right now that the crafting wizards that are the likes of Spicy Sushi, Belton, Jinebu, if you're on TFT, I'm sure that they will start to create some ridiculously fractured items, and they will probably have some crazy modifiers on them. So they are probably going to be the best gear this league to look out for. So just keep an eye out for those, and if you're able to make one yourself, good luck, and I wish you all the luck in the world in trying to do that, because it sounds very painful. Last thing as well I wanted to discuss is a lot of the corpses he did mention. He said some of them will drop from particular areas, so there's obviously experimental weapons he mentioned, experimental bases. He said that some of them you can only get from Heist. There was one that had a Stygian belt, a Stygian Vise belt, which he said you can only get from Abyssal Depths in Abyss. So there are certain ways and certain modifiers that unless you do that piece of content, you will not see that corpse. So it's a case of that you may need to keep an eye out, and obviously I may do a video on where to get all of these different types of corpses once the league has progressed a few days, and obviously we've started to play all the different types of mechanics, because there may even be one for incursion bases. No idea. We're just going to have to just play it and see what comes out. In true Path of Exile fashion, they always try to tease us with little bits, never tell us the full story, and let us find out for ourselves. Finally, the last thing that he mentioned, and obviously he wanted to go through, was he mentioned about tier 17 maps, and obviously he mentioned that you can actually farm one particular tier 17 map. He said because there are particular maps that will only drop one particular tier 17 map. So for example, let's say, I don't know, let's say Crimson Temple was to drop the new one of the new tier 17s there, which I think there's one that's called the it begins with Z, Zigataria, Zigatoria, something like that. If that dropped that map, then if you ran every other map on the Atlas, it would not drop that tier 17 map. That is basically what he was trying to say. So you could then focus on that one map to try and get another tier 17 drop. And he did mention that once you have all of your Void Stones, you will have a 6.4% chance to get a tier 17 map to drop. So it is pretty high. So it's a case of that as long as you increase map drops and tier of your maps and density and all that good stuff, quant rarity, then you should get some good tier 17 maps. I would assume maybe 1 every 5 maps, I would assume you should be getting a tier 17, but don't quote me on that. We'll have to see how the numbers are. But either way, you can then farm one particular Uber shard or one particular new unique which has been created. And obviously we won't know what they are until we've started to play them, and we won't know where they drop until we've played them. And that is basically it, guys. I just wanted to go through it wasn't very a quick video, but I wanted to just go through Scarabs in a little bit more detail and have this as a bit of a video that you can have on in the background maybe while you're watching some other stuff. And obviously you can listen to all of the Scarabs and different variations and things like that. I hope it's helped. I can't wait for the league to start on Friday. I am going to be streaming live on Twitch, so if you do want to come and join me, my Twitch link will be in the description, as well as the link to this. So if you want to go and check it out yourself, you can do. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching and stay sane.